Well, a lot is made of the INFJ gaze or the INFJ stare, and it's partly why the INFJ is such a highly discussed type. Is that apparently, according to the way people think of the INFJ, that is, people who are or are not INFJs, is that there's a particular way that INFJs look at people or look at the world or just, look at things, or the way their eyes look, And so it's usually called the INFJ stare or the INTJ stare. It's very interesting because, obviously all types have distinctive characteristics, at least are supposed to have those distinctive characteristics if you listen to the literature, if you listen to people in the community, if you listen to people making videos, including some, if you like, physical characteristics. But when it comes to the eyes, when it comes to the whole notion of the eyes, it's really the INTJ and the INFJ that have pride of place. They take the cake because the INFJ gaze is this kind of wistful, mystical gaze that seems to look through people. And the INTJ stare is supposed to be a kind of death stare that pierces through people. And it's colder and it's kind of a bit more death-like, perhaps in some way, and hence all its various nicknames, the names that are used. I just want to make a couple observations on this question. It's not entirely arbitrary. It's not just some invention, some mythological invention. As you know, often what I consider to be mythological attributes of INFJs or INTJs or other types indeed originate in just exaggerations of a trait that actually is in existence, but it's mythified in terms of its proportions. At least this is something that can happen. Now, another reason why it can't be complete chance is that, again, only the INTJ and the INFJs are concerned by this, at least when it comes to their stare and their gaze. And many months ago, possibly years ago at this point, I have been discussing the very strong connection that in the way, between NI and vision, the sense of sight, okay? The sense of sight is sort of metaphorically rooted at the very base of descriptions of the NI function. If you think about it, when people try to explain what it means to have NI as a dominant function, or what it means for others to have NI as a dominant function, it's always about seeing things differently. It's about seeing into the future, or it's about seeing into the past, the evolution and progression of the past into the future via the present, seeing through people, seeing through oneself, contemplating the inner archetypes of the psyche. I mean, these are, elements of description that I myself use because I think not only are they useful, but I think they are quite true. But you'll notice that they almost always have to do with sight. And I think there's a clear connection here between the fact that NI is always conceived in terms of a function of particular sight, insight, foresight. Again, you find these links everywhere, regardless of where you look. And the fact that the most distinctive characteristics of INFJs and INTJs seem to have to do with their eyes, because it's through your eyes that you use your sense of sight. So I'm not saying that it is because NI is a function of sight, or at least conceived in terms of sight, because an argument could be made that an enrichment of the NI function would actually bring many more senses, possibly all senses, to understanding that function and enriching its description. But nevertheless, there's dominance of sight. There's a reason for that. People think that makes sense at some level and is heuristically useful. So I'm not saying that just because they have that idea, then they imagine that INTJs and INFJs have a particular kind of way of looking at the world, not just metaphorically, but literally. I rather think that there has to be a link somewhere, a genuine link between the fact that there's an intricate link and entanglement between NI and sight and the actual physiological manifestation of that particular way of looking at the world. Of course, if you have read The Ecstatic Soul, and you haven't, you still can. There's the link to this, to get this book on Amazon is right below. It's on INFJ consciousness, INFJ, the INFJ mind, and it's how it manifests existentially. In terms of this kind of investigation, I think it goes pretty deep, probably deeper than most other books. So if you're interested, you can get it. I talk about this. I talk about the concept of haziness. INFJs experience the world as hazy, particularly other people as hazy. Partly because they experience a sense of distance from external reality because of inferior SE. And so they're kind of always trying to look for the particular points that they can fix on to be able to not just relate to others, but really perceptually center other people. And it's actually not an easy thing for them to do, because while they're trying to do this, their ani is constantly moving in this circular kind of direction to try to make sense of other people. I think that translates physically as this sense of haziness, which also explains the gaze of the INFJ. Note that we don't quite talk about haziness in the case of the INTJ, because TE is the function that's used in the relationship to the external world that has important ramifications, which I don't have time to go into right here. So but haziness is something that has more to do with the INFJ, and it has the softer side of coming across as a kind of penetrating but warm and gentle gaze rather than a hard cold stare. Okay, so there is a sense in which I think you could really plausibly make the argument that the way that the gaze or the stare of the INFJ and the INTJ manifests, seen by other people and often as a marker, that really has a psychic correlates in the cognitive functions of the INFJ and the INTJ, and the existential manifestations as described in The Ecstatic Soul, and simply the fact that there is a certain way that NI works, which seems to just manifest in the way that NI dominants look at the world, again, not just metaphorically, but physically. And I think that what I have done in terms of my work for INFJ haziness, and trying to provide the explanation of how that manifests in The Ecstatic Soul, that can probably be done, the same, research and work can be done to explain the parallel manifestation in INTJs. And you'd have to, obviously have recourse to a different concept. But, I think there's a lot of parallels there. So either someone will do that for INTJs, or eventually when I write a book on INTJs, I will do that for INTJs. We'll see. Anyway, so those were my 2 cents on this topic that is always quite relevant, but I only touch on it maybe once a year or something. I thought I would come back to it briefly in this video. Let me know what you thought. Give me a like. Don't forget that my new book on the INFJ is available as well, The Infinite Soul, on finding meaning, purpose, and value in a world that is often hostile to us and seems hostile to purpose, meaning, and value. That's The Infinite Soul. You can get it at the link below. If you love the book but haven't reviewed it on Amazon, please consider it, because it helps with referencing. Ultimately helps, when people go on Amazon, they see it quicker if it's better reference. Just a little review takes a few minutes of your time. And as you know, as I always like to remind you, the lifeblood of my channel is Patreon, donations via Patreon or via paypal.me, just for one-offs. The links are below. This channel, will continue, will keep going through the help of its patrons. So I'd be so grateful if you considered it. I'm grateful for those who already have made that step. And don't forget, you can interact with me there. You can access some bonus content and suggest topics. I'm hungry for your suggestion. So please consider it. Okay, guys, take care, and I'll see you next time.